Hi, this is Phil Leach, and in this session I'd like us to discuss the structure of this book, The Song of Solomon. Now, most people would see a chiasm in the structure of the Song of Solomon, with the center being a chapter 3:6 or chapter 4:1 following, which is identified as a wedding and the honeymoon scene. And what I'd like to do is to give you a couple of options of structure. One as an example based around the understanding of the Song of Solomon being a dramatic book with a drama, a storyline, and the second, which is my own structure, which is seeing it more as a collection of connected, related poems about the beauty of marital love. And so the first example comes from a friend and colleague of mine, David Hamilton. This is something he did a number of years ago. David, you may be aware, is the Vice President for Strategic Innovation with the University of the Nations. And when he was on staff in the School of Biblical Studies, as I said a number of years ago, he did an extensive study on the Song of Solomon. And the structure there is on the screen. Now, this horizontal chart and the key to go with it is in this lesson, and I would encourage you to download it so that you're able to see how he has done what he has done and why he's done what he's done. This is a very comprehensive structure. The key goes from the different columns from right to left. You'll see at the top each of the columns are numbered. And so just to say again that this structure recognizes the book as a drama. So the title he's given it, The Best Love Song Ever, reflects the sense of the Hebrew title in English, and he has two key verses, one appearing at the end of his first division, which is an exhortation to enjoy the fruits of marital love, and the second appearing at the end of the second division, which is the book's definition of that love, and we've looked at that when we were exploring the Hebrew poetry together. Column 1, this divides the book into two acts because of the dramatic nature of the song. Now, because of the dramatic understanding, this understanding sees a progression through the book from courtship through to marriage, and then beyond marriage with their maturing love as a married couple. And so the first act is from the beginning of their first meeting through to their honeymoon night, and then the second act speaks of the ongoing growth of that love. David recognizes, as most do, the chiastic structure, the chiasm that's in the structure, and the center of that chiasm, which you will be aware is the emphasis, that the high point is the consummation of their love on their honeymoon night, there in chapter 4. Column 3, here the titles of the various scenes are given, and Act 1 has 4 scenes and Act 2 has 4 scenes, ending with a postscript. column 4. Here we have the paragraph titles, and what David has done has created a new paragraph every time there's a change of actor. And it's worth noting, he says, that the longest paragraph is the heart of the book, that is the wedding and the honeymoon. Column 5, this is a key to who is speaking, the actors which are speaking. Now, different Bibles will do this slightly differently, but this is how David has understood it. B for bride, G for groom, and C for chorus. Column 6 is the role of the chorus, is in his understanding crucial in determining the breaks between the scenes. And he has a note here of how the chorus plays out in each part of the book. And that is listed there. You see that on the chart in front of you. Column 7, he has shaded areas of what he calls the bedroom scenes. The nature of the literature, of course, means there's many of these. Now, because in the dramatic approach the wedding is in the middle of the book, and clearly the bride is a virgin on the night of her wedding, a garden closed, we read, and she's praised for that by the groom. The wedding scenes in this approach are seen before the wedding as in the imagination of the bride prior to the marriage. And then there's 4 scenes, chapter 4 through 7, 4 bedroom scenes in which their love is consummated after their wedding. And you'll notice that these occupy most of the song, again in keeping with the nature of the literature. And so the first are in anticipation, the first 3, and then the wedding night, and moving on into their married life together, the others are in reality. Column 8 and 9, we have an alternative structure just for interest. The first is by Lloyd Carr in the IVP Tyndale Old Testament Commentary series, and the last one there, column 9, is a structure from Keil and Delitzsch, the German theologians of the 19th century, which I've already mentioned Delitzsch as one of the leading scholars to again bring to focus the more literal understanding of the Song of Solomon, and to see it as a drama after hundreds of years of most people taking the typological allegorical approach. My preference, for what it's worth, is to see the song as not so much as a drama, but as a series of poems connected, related around the whole question of married love and enjoying the pleasures of sexual intimacy within the bonds of marriage. And so you can also download this structure. It's in this lesson. You can have a look at that as we go along looking at this structure. I think that the chiasm is crucial in understanding the structure of this book, but also the repeated refrains. I believe that these refrains give us a real clue as to how these poems are put together, connected and related. And so poem 1 I would suggest is chapter 1 verse 2 to chapter 2 verse 7, and it finishes with the refrain, "All that I adjure you, O daughters of Jerusalem, by the gazelles or the wild does, do not stir up awaken love until it is ready." That's in chapter 2, 6 and 7. And then poem number 2, chapter 2, 8 to 3, 5, is in 2 parts, and each has its own formula to conclude. The first, in 2:16, my beloved is mine and I am his, and that concludes the first part of this poem, 2:8 through 17. And then the second is this so-called dream scene. The reason it's seen as a dream scene, particularly with the dramatic approach, is because clearly this concludes with the 2 in the bedchamber, and therefore it's understood to be a dream scene. But it concludes with the formula in chapter 3 verse 5, the refrain, "I adjure you, daughters of Jerusalem, by the gazelles or the wild does, do not stir up or waken love until it is ready." And then we have the center of the book, the wedding and honeymoon, chapter 3:6 to 5:1. And then we see the other side of the chiasm unfolding with the poem 5:2 to 6:3, and 5:2 again is seen as a dream scene, and it concludes in chapter 5 verse 8, "I adjure you, O daughters of Jerusalem, if you find my beloved, tell him that I am faint with love." And that corresponds to 3:5. Not exactly the same words, but a very similar theme and similar thought. And then the second part is 5:9 to 6:3, and 6:3 concludes, "I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine." And that corresponds to 2:16. This refrain there of intimacy and connectedness. And then we have the final poem in my structure of the chiasm, chapter 6:4 to 8:4, and that concludes with the refrain, "I adjure you, O daughters of Jerusalem, do not stir or waken love until it is ready." And that corresponds to chapter 2 verse 7. And then we have poem 6, which is a conclusion to the whole set of poems, chapter 8 verse 5 through to the end of this book, verse 14. And this is talking about 2 key conclusions. One, the strength of love that is being spoken about in this book. It's not simply a love around sexual passion, but the sexual passion is part of the committedness in the marriage bond, and also a call for chastity, for purity before marriage, we see in these concluding verses. And so this is the structure I would suggest. Now, the thing about seeing these as a set of connected poems and not as a drama that is unfolding, then there's no pressure to see the first part of the book as a couple in a courting relationship. Rather, I would suggest to you that the apex of the chiasm, the wedding and the honeymoon, the marriage is like an umbrella that comes out over the whole book, and therefore The bedroom scenes in the first few chapters would be under the umbrella of marriage and don't have to be in anticipation, even as the bedroom scenes towards the second part of the book. The whole book will be seen as celebrating marital love, celebrating the joy of sexual union within the marriage commitment, because of the nature of the chiasm, and these poems spread out each side of that central feature.